What's up, Womack Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of KPop Demon Hunters, the musical fantasy film out now on Netflix from Sony Pictures Animation. This film came out way back on June 20th, and if you watch anything I do, you know that I am usually up on movies and talking about them when they come out. That's my thing. I had initially written off K-pop Demon Hunters because I at first thought it was a TV series, but then, decided to just let it be because I had missed the initial release. I usually don't go back to stuff if I'm late on it. But K-pop Demon Hunters is truly a phenomenon in many respects. It's a film that has broken containment beyond the K-pop observing world and is now simply one of the biggest films of the year. It's rapidly rising up Netflix's all-time film ranks. It's still in its top 10 for movies 6 weeks after release. And the soundtrack of this film has spawned 6 legitimate massive tracks to the point where half of the Spotify US Top 50 chart is original songs from this movie. Talk about a complete out of nowhere phenomenon. And it's really cool. And what's even cooler about it is that all this has happened for a movie that's really good. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a film from Sony Pictures. They made the film, sold to Netflix. Not the first time they did that. Think of the Mitchells and the Machines from the pandemic. Sony has a relationship with Netflix. Their pay one window involves all their theatrical movies eventually going to Netflix anyway. So the Netflix Sony pipeline is very strong, as we know. This film, I think Netflix was instrumental in just getting this in front of people, right? Like, could this movie have been a big success in theaters? Of course it could have, given how popular it's been so far. But I think the low barrier to entry, by being on Netflix, this is a film that was available to people to maybe have more of an open mind, people that aren't K-pop fans, people that aren't necessarily attracted to this film. But I gotta shout out the co-directors Maggie Kang and Chris Appelhans. They kind of came up with this and wanted to make something regarding their Korean heritage, and they made it happen. K-pop Demon Hunters is the biggest movie surprise of the year. It's a really impressive blend of showing you the modern K-pop music culture, both from the performer and fan side of things, while also being a adventure fantasy film with some romance. And when you throw on top of that 5 or 6 really well done K-pop songs created by industry veterans, maybe it's not that big of a surprise that this film has broken K-pop containment and is just incredibly mainstream and popular right now. It's a really cool thing to watch experience, and I'm really not sure how far this will continue to go, but it's incredibly cool. Think about the film itself, right? You have these 3 K-pop girl group members, Huntrix, Hunter X, and as you would spell it, and they're like, complete beasts. They have a army of stans. They're crushing it, right? And they also, double life, are fighting against demons trying to come into the real world, right? It's a very familiar fantasy conflict framing that is familiar for a reason, because it's always really, really effective when it's done well. And then you add another familiar movie decision on top of that, where the lead of our film, Rumi, she's actually a demon. We learned about that early on. She's like half demon or whatever. I think if there's any quibble about this, it would be, Celine, Rumi's like guardian, protector, family figure who tells her a lot about the past. There's some gaps in that, I guess you could say. It doesn't really matter to the story at all. It's just, if there's any thing you might question, it might be something like that. And once we learn about, these K-pop demon hunters moonlighting as K-pop idols, right? You see the other side of the coin. And I really love the way they portray the demon world. The Demon King, voiced by Lee Byung-hun, is this just nebulous, flame with a deep voice. Really cool. And I love the way they set it up really early on with the demons. They have to switch it up. They have to change their tactics to try and accomplish their goals in the real world. In terms of turning everyone's souls and stuff, and their evil quest. And what do? They decide to make a demon boy group to steal attention away from Huntrix. And I think it's a fascinating plot choice, because this kind of thing is just like crack for K-pop fans, right? Having a girl group and a boy group interact, something that doesn't happen at all in the real life K-pop music industry due to the hyper attention that goes on, with the fans there. But the creation of the Saja boys as these demons, right? And then Huntrix learning early on that they're demons. We have to defeat them, but they can't necessarily because they got bops too. Man, it's just a really satisfying story to watch play out, and I really enjoy the character relationship and the progression it goes on between Rumi and the leader of the Saja boys, Jinu. I think the Jinu character actually gets a lot of rope and a surprising amount of depth as like the secondary character and the secondary villain of the film. And the film really uses its music in big ways. Like the film's soundtrack is paramount to this film's success. And when you have again these songs that have become big hits because they're just really well made pop songs, right? Golden is the biggest of these songs, but there's legitimately 6 of them that are like 100 million plus streams on Spotify at this point. Like these songs are huge, but they're, I think, used in the movie in a really cool way. I really enjoyed the way Takedown is used, which was the lead single from this film that it got my attention right away because it was recorded by Twice, specifically Jihyo, Jonghyun, and Chaeyoung. I love that track. I think it's one of the best Twice songs in years. It's excellent, right? And they have a Huntrix performed version of that also in this film, and they kind of use parts of that song as like a musical motif at some point with the orchestral notes and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. They actually have the Twice version play in the credits. Would have been cool to hear the Twice version of the movie, I guess. Also, I think it's kind of cool about how this movie works is the only real famous people like involved in the cast are like supporting characters, right? You have Lee Byung-hun as the voice of the Demon King, as I mentioned. You also have Ken Jeong, who's pretty amusing, as the manager of Huntrix. You also have Joel Kim Booster, who does a few voices, including one of the Saja boys. And you have Daniel Dae Kim as this doctor, healer, snake oil salesman type guy who's pretty funny in his one scene. Everyone else is not super well known, right? Like the singing voice of Rumi is this singer EJ, who is known as a writer and producer for a lot of K-pop groups in real life. Similarly, Jinu's singing voice is Andrew Choi, who also is involved in the industry, but not a big name himself. And that's just really cool, right? And a lot of the actors, the non-singing voices, also no one's super well known. So I think it's a cool combo that you're getting with that. The film also just gives you like a lot of like the cute like animation style stuff that you expect for something like this, where you have like the demon tiger and its eccentricities and all. It's really like a film that I think it's appealing for many different reasons. And as a big K-pop observer, someone who reviews a ton of that music on the channel, check that out if you missed it. I thought this was a really sophisticated and intelligent way to portray that culture and how that music works, right? You have the end of the year Idol Awards, you have like the way the single and the promo goes and the performing on the variety shows and the fan events and seeing like fans like talk about their love for Huntrix in the beginning of the movie and throughout it as well as the Saja boys come in. It's genuine. That's how it is, and I think that's just really familiar touchstone, and it's cool to get that in a movie that also is a really fun and satisfying fantasy story too. So K-pop Demon Hunters, man, what a unforeseen development this was. I will advocate for this film to get a Best Original Song nomination at the Oscars. I hope this film also gets nominated for Best Animated Feature. It'll be up against some high profile stuff like Mamoru Hosada's Scarlet comes to mind. We'll see how that goes. But I think this is a film that uses original music in such a great way, which is not the case with most songs nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. A lot of times those are songs in montage form, in credit form, right? This is music that is paramount to the movie's success, and I hope that gets rewarded because the songs are also good as well. And a lot of Oscar-nominated original songs are not necessarily that good or songs people actually care about. So here's an opportunity to actually nail that category for once. Let's hope that happens. But yeah, obviously a sequel is a lock, the lock of all locks, and there's tons of room story wise to continue this. So I'm really much looking forward to that sequel whenever we do get it. But it's a W for Netflix, W for Sony. We'll see what happens with the sequel. I wonder how those rights work. Does Sony retain all the control of this film, or do they sell the IP to Netflix? We don't really know. We'll see. But let me know, what'd you think of K-Pop Demon Hunters? What'd you like most about the movie? What's your favorite song of the original songs? Mine's Takedown. What's yours? And for more movie reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.